Hi, this is Mark Taylor. I'm the publisher at Christian Standard Media and the editor of Christian Standard Magazine. Here on the floor of the 2016 North American Christian Convention, snagging some workshop leaders and other speakers from the convention this year to talk with us. And today we have Jeff Stone, who's the senior pastor at Bright Christian Church in Bright, Indiana, who's leading a workshop on evangelism later. Jeff, thanks so much for talking with us today.
Thank you,
So
Mark.
listen, Jeff, now tell me the title of that workshop you're leading.
The title is Creative Ways to Share His Story with Others.
Creative ways to share his story with others. So that's intriguing. It might be even a little bit intimidating to think that we have to have a creative way to share others, but maybe it's also easier ways to share.
Yeah, I'm hoping to provide a variety of different methods to kind of introduce a conversation, direct people to a spiritual thought, and move things along. And we all have casual encounters all day long with people that we're running into at a restaurant, at a store, and we have an opportunity to plant seeds during those moments that sometimes we overlook or don't take advantage of. So I want to suggest some ways to maximize those chances.
So give me a couple of examples. Not everybody watching this video will have seen your workshop.
Sure. Well, for one example, I'm going to share in the workshop. We were going through a TSA in Savannah, Georgia, which that's a pretty quick 30 seconds typically, and the fellow noticed that we were from the Midwest, and he said, "I'm moving to Cleveland, Ohio in 2 weeks." We said, "Oh, Jeremy, why are you moving from Savannah, Georgia to Cleveland, Ohio? That seems like a downgrade in the weather." He said, "Well, it's because of a family situation." We said, "Oh, well, that makes sense then." And I said, "Hey, would it be possible for me to get your email address? And I have 3 friends that are church planners in Cleveland. Love to put you in touch with them and their churches, and they might be able to help you and your family with that transition. Would that be okay?" He gave me that email address. I've continued to pray for Jeremy. Someday in heaven, I'll find out if he ended up at one of those churches as we share that information. But just little moments like that don't take long, but might redirect an individual, a family, a destiny for eternity.
So how do we overcome the fear factor that keeps us from doing that?
Yeah, fear I think is the big thing. Part of it's our fear of our inconsistencies. Well, I'm not perfect. Who am I to tell anyone else how to live? And that is used by Satan to silence us. We're going to talk about that some in the workshop, but just the understanding that the urgency supersedes any fear that we have. If I'm in a restaurant and the person next to me at the table begins choking on the food, I may not be the best qualified person to administer the Heimlich maneuver, but because of proximity, I'm probably the best person to administer the Heimlich maneuver. And just to communicate that idea of this urgency. If you walked by a burning building and someone were leaning out, you wouldn't put your hands in your pocket, whistle, and keep walking down the street. You would somehow break in, get help, assist them. You would do something. It's urgent, it's dramatic, it can't be postponed. And what we're talking about is eternity. It's more urgent than a burning building. And Jude, there's a little fragment of a verse that talks about snatch others from the flames. And that's really what we're trying to do is rescue people that way.
So really maybe the bigger factor than starting with fear is thinking about the urgency.
I agree. I think that love, that motivation, that understanding of the reality of heaven and hell, those are the things that drive us and help us overcome that hesitancy. Again, not everyone's going to see the workshop today. I share a story about when I was in 7th grade. We had a basketball program before school, and I was being defended at the top of the key by Charles Stark. Charles had these long, sharp, pointy teeth, and I gave a head fake to the left, and I drove to the right. He kind of lurched over and then came back, and our heads collided, and I got a big knot on my forehead, blood coming out, and they said, "Oh, that's going to need stitches." So he took me back to the training room and the locker room, the trainer's table, and had to wait for Coach Cruz to come and make the decision. And the whole time I'm there with this ice pack trying to arrest the flow of blood, I'm praying, dear God, please, anything but stitches. I'll do anything. I'll talk to the next person I see about you, but just please, no stitches. About that time, Terry Calcote walked in. Terry is one of the Calcote twins, Terry and Jerry. And Terry walked over and said, ooh, that looks nasty. Man, what happened to you? I go, hi, Terry. Terry, do you know the Lord? Are you saved? And you'll be relieved to learn I did not require stitches. But that's maybe how we feel, a little bit awkward, a little bit guilt-induced, a little bit hesitant. But the more you do something like this, those conversations become just a lot more natural and spontaneous, and just become second nature very quickly.
So the average Joe, and maybe even some professional Christians, those are not inclined to do this, and they'll hear this and enjoy it and then go on. So what is it that's going to get us off of dead center and toward seeing the people around us as opportunities to begin the evangelism process?
I think that really is the key, to see the people around you, and the fact that they are lost, they are floundering, they're in need, and that becomes the motivation that helps us move from our comfort zone, our complacency, our hesitancy, and to take steps. And I'm going to provide a variety of different ways that can be done. And so it's not a one-size-fits-all. This isn't something specific to extroverts. It's any style, any personality. We all have some people that we work with, we live near, that we share hobby interests. And I'm going to try to give some examples from all those different frames of how we can intersect with people and just earn the right to be heard.
Yeah, because it might almost be easier to say something to a guy at the TSA stand as you're walking through whom you're never going to see again. It might be easier to talk with him than your neighbor.
Oh, it definitely is. And because, again, that puts that pressure back on us to be more consistent.
Yes.
But, I liken it, give the example that the TSA guy, that's the buzzer throwing up the half-court shot. Those don't typically go in, but occasionally they go in, so we take that shot. But the layup is the shot with your neighbor, your coworker, your extended family member, where over time they've seen your example, you've earned the right to be heard, you can speak into their life. Perhaps they're encountering a crisis or a need that opens them up, makes them receptive. It says in Acts 16 about Lydia that God opened her heart. I believe God uses heartache and difficulties, challenges to open people's hearts who previously were not receptive. And I'm going to share some examples of experiences like that, where side by side for years I've gently invited and spoken to people, but when they intersected with a crisis, suddenly, tell me more about this Jesus of yours. I'm terribly interested.
Do you think, you've been in ministry a number of years now, a couple different churches, we're all concerned about the degeneration of our culture and all that sort of stuff. Do you feel like evangelism is harder today, or are the needs that people are feeling more raw so that it's easier today, or do you just feel like it's the same deal today as when you started in ministry?
I believe it's easier today, Mark. I
Really?
think there is I understand culturally that we're in a free fall, and so on the surface people might assume that makes our task harder. I think it makes it easier. There's more of a contrast between darkness and light. We're standing out as stars that shine in the darkness. In Philippians 2:14, there's more of a stark contrast that I think people are looking to try something. I remember years ago I was at a conference out at Saddleback and eating lunch with Kevin Oder, and Kevin had gone from Worthington, Central Ohio, where I was at, to minister out in Las Vegas. And I said, Kevin, what's the difference between doing ministry in Las Vegas versus Central Ohio? He said, out here, he said, people have already tried everything, and it's like, I guess I could try the Lord. He said they're jumping in the boat. The fish are jumping in the boat. And I think that's
it's going to start happening in Ohio and Indiana.
It's definitely
sooner. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate your encouragement. I'm looking forward to the fruit that's going to be born from that workshop you're going to lead later. Thanks so much for taking time to be with us today, Jeff. God bless you.
Appreciate it. God bless you.